Hey everyone, this is Josh Peak, the host of the Josh Peak Show. You can find me on social media, Instagram at Josh Peak, Twitter at Josh Peak, and then of course Facebook. You can just type in Josh Peak. So on my show, I interview entrepreneurs, successful business folks, producers, sometimes even politicians, people that are winners, people that have succeeded in their line of work. And so today I had Joe Betterman, Greco-Roman wrestler, been on a world team and an Olympic team on the senior level. This is probably one of my better interviews. It was great. I got to find out a little bit more on how his brain works and why they're so successful. And my son Rhett's probably going to do some training with him as well. So you're really going to enjoy this show. Before I get started, I've talked a lot here lately about, we're in interesting times economically. If you don't own an online business, or a home business of some sorts, you probably should. I would be really strongly. I recommend starting a second income stream. If you are looking for a leader or someone to partner up with and mentor and show you how to be successful, I want you to get in touch with me. You can DM me at Instagram. You can DM me, private message me at Facebook, or you can email me at joshpeakmobile@gmail.com. And I've got some opportunities for a select group of people that are looking to do something special, wanting to start maybe another career or for sure an online business. Just reach out to me. So with that being said, I want you to really listen if your kids are wrestling, or if they're not, if they're just in sports, the mentality that you're gonna hear when I interview Joe Betterman, his school of thought. You're really going to enjoy it. It's great for parents, and it's great for really anybody. So enjoy this interview. Again, I'm Josh Peak. You guys have a great day. Thank you.
The Josh Peak Show.
Hey everybody, this is Josh Peak. Welcome to the Josh Peak Show, where I'm your host. We interview entrepreneurs and top producers, and I'm doing a special thing now where we're doing a Wednesday, Wrestling Wednesday day, where we bring in wrestlers that have performed at a high level, and we interview them as well. And so on this podcast with me right now is Joe Betterman. Joe, it's good to have you on.
Oh, it's great to be on. I appreciate you guys having us. It's exciting. We're getting back to wrestling, so I'm happy to be a part of this.
Well, yeah, I am too, and you and I have been talking for a while. There's some possibilities. Rhett getting some training with you, and so I'm excited about that. You're doing some great things in Colorado Springs up there. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing, and then we'll go from the very beginning a little bit.
Right now I have a wrestling academy, Betterman Elite Wrestling Academy here in Colorado Springs. We have it where the kids we partnered with District 49. They go to school 2 days a week, and the other 3 is online. So they train full-time 8 times a week. Right now they're only in school 1 day a week because of the COVID stuff, but so they're training 9 times a week. But we got kids from all over. I got 4 kids from Washington, a kid from Maine, kid from Illinois. I got 2 from Georgia that live with me. So we have a resident program as well, and then we have all our local kids that are part of the program too.
Sweet. So do you guys train a lot? There's a lot to do there in Colorado Springs too. Do you guys get out to the mountains and do some things there as well, and just to kind of get away from it all?
Yeah, we hit the incline, or we'll go out and play soccer, or just do some stuff. Yesterday the kids went and ran, and they left my gym, ran to Memorial Park Lake, which is by the Olympic Training Center. Did a lap around the lake, came back. It's about a 4-mile run. And then we played some basketball after, a little bit of agility exercises.
Sweet. Well, let's kind of go back to where it started. We tried to do this podcast yesterday, and my computer was updating, so we had to kind of redo this. But so you got started. What I was saying yesterday is you got started, fairly late. You see a lot of parents who put their kids in there at 4, 5, 6 years old, and they want their kids to be the best in the world at age 8. They win the Tulsa Nationals, and then that's the height. And you see kids maybe start to decline or burn at that point. But I've seen a lot of people start later, and they have a lot of success. I was thinking about it the other day. there's novice and schoolboy, but then UWW, you got what, 2 or 3 years cadet, 3 years junior, U23, and then senior. You've got almost 8-9 years before you even get to the senior level, and that's if you're a novice. You're at novice or something. I mean, so there's a long road ahead of, at 10, 12 years old, and you've had a lot of success. There's a longer road even after that. And so you got started when you were in like a freshman in high school, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I started in high school. I played football my freshman year, and the coaches I was only 70 pounds, and they got me to come out for wrestling. I wrestled 103 pounds. I got my butt whooped. I didn't win a match until the end of the season. And then I wrestled Fargo because I was the 83.5-pounder for Team Illinois, and there was nobody there. So my first year, so I got to go to Fargo, and my career went really fast. I never won a state title for high school. Freestyle Greco I did, but not folk style. I took 6 my senior year, and then my junior year I placed at Fargo though, and I had a lot of looks. But then Northern Michigan, Yvonne Ivanov started looking at me in my senior year, and I had lost in the blood rounds at Fargo that year, and he picked me up on a full scholarship, and the rest was kind of history. I got to college, thought I was hot stuff, because I had a full ride, and then I got humbled real quick. I didn't score a point for 6 months, so I asked Yvonne to stay an hour every day after school or after practice with me, and that changed the game. I became the junior world team member that year. I won the nationals. I tech followed everybody, and then I took second at universities. And just like you said, it's kind of stages. So did really well at juniors. Took second at universities. The following year, I won universities. And then I was in the Olympic trials, and I took 5th. Polson took second, and Dennis won it, and I lost to Dennis in the quarterfinals. But yeah, it's been a heck of a ride.
So and so then in 2000, in 07 you won the world trials, right? And then 8 you won the Olympic trials. Am I right on that timeline?
So yes, 07 was actually took second, but Joe Warren had a few issues, and so I was representative that year on the world team for the 07 world team. 08 I won the trials, and then in 2011 I won the trials again. 9 I just had a bad trials. 10 I blew my ACL out in Russia in the finals in Padugny, and then it goes by really quick, your career. I feel like at the senior level, when you look back at it, I was a 4-time senior national champ. I was an 8-time finalist, which is cool, but never got the job done where I wanted to get it done and win that world medal. I'd beat those guys all year, world and Olympic champs, but then I would, I just didn't show up when it was time to show up. So now I'm trying to get these kids to show up that I'm coaching when it's time to show up, so, and pass on my knowledge.
Well, I think that really helps, though. I mean, when you haven't got, you haven't achieved what you wanted to, but then you understand as you get older, you get the wisdom of that, and you can pass it on to kids. And I think that's a very valuable asset because, I think sometimes failure, it gives you an insight maybe that sometimes having success doesn't,
for sure.
Yeah. Well, you and I have had conversations about this. We've been battling back and forth with Rhett. He loves freestyle and Greco as his main styles. That's what he wants to do. Are we starting to see more kids? Are we starting to see the avenue where they're starting to specialize at an earlier age and say, maybe high school wrestling and folk style is not what's going to get me to where I want to be when it comes to Greco and freestyle? Because we have somebody, I won't say who they are, but in Oklahoma that said, we're never going to be able to win that many Greco world and Olympic titles because the Russians and these guys start at such a young age. I think we can win it, but if we start maybe at an earlier age. So I guess there's 2 questions there. But the first question is, are we starting to see more kids specialize, go more of a freestyle and Greco route, and forego folk style?
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of great programs. My program, obviously, being one of them around the whole country that do what I do. Legends of Gold would be a second program, primarily a freestyle and Greco program. If you look at MWC out of Nebraska with Zach Dominguez, primarily a freestyle and Greco program. Starting to get these kids to buy in at the youth level to have Olympic dreams and let's forego saying I want to be a state champ. Let's start talking about I want to be an Olympic champ one day. You know, we're still gonna have fun and do all the fun stuff, but let's set that goal now so that everything below falls in line. You become an Olympic champ, you become a state champ, you become a national champ on the way of trying to become an Olympic champ. Because you're putting that work effort in to be an Olympic champ, and just getting the kids to buy into it. And if you look at the countries like you said, like Russia, for example, they start at a very young age, and I think it's foolish to say that we'll never be able to win Greco medals like that, like Russia.
I do too.
All we have to do is change the culture, right? If we can change the culture and get our kids to buy into it, which if you look at Andy Bezic in Northern Michigan, he's got 40, 50 kids in the room that just are doing Greco at the college level, trying to aspire right out of high school doing the Greco route. Same thing I did when I went to Northern Michigan. There's tons of kids out there that's what they want to, that's what they aspire to be. And I have 8 kids that live with me, and they're like, hey, I want to be an Olympic champion. Let's go. Teach me what I need to learn, that's a foolish statement, but I mean, whoever it is, they have their own views on it, and that's fine. But I'm a little optimistic, and I would like to press those boundaries. So let's give the kids the opportunity to prove that person wrong.
I agree. I agree. So what does it look like? I guess this is another question. Then what does it look like for? And I'm glad I'm having this interview because I'm actually going through this situation right now. So I guess the question is do you forego folk style completely and just say we're going freestyle and Greco, and then if we do that, I know what a bunch of parents are asking. Well, if you go freestyle Greco, how are they going to get a college education then? They're not going to get to wrestle at a D1. And I actually had a good friend of mine that's a coach that said, look, if you're not going to get a full ride, then what's the sense of even doing it anyway? Because the cost of college these days doesn't really make sense in terms of what you can go out in the world and make money at. So why wouldn't you then go freestyle and Greco? Well, there's only 9.9 scholarships. So it is an interesting conversation, of do you just forego folk style and go freestyle and Greco? And then if you do that, then how do you get a college education?
There's a gray area there, obviously. And do I say you 100% forego folk style? It's hard because you got to get mat time. And in our country, it's all folk style tournaments. There's no freestyle and Greco tournaments year round unless we start creating that culture. If we have freestyle and Greco tournaments for the kids to hit year round, great. Like the kids that have bought into my program and that are doing freestyle and Greco year round, they still do some folk style tournaments. So really, we're front loading our training to get ready for the second half of the year. We're training for freestyle and Greco season. It used to be, and you could correct me if I was wrong, like a coach would tell you or myself, like, hey, you need to do freestyle and Greco season so you can get better for folk style.
Yep.
So you can win a state title, right? And so that's what I did. And then all of a sudden, even for myself in high school, it transitioned where I was doing folk style so I can get better for freestyle and Greco, for Fargo, because I saw the bigger picture. Scholarship stuff, that's great. No, but like you said, scholarships are hard to come by with only 9.9 scholarships. We don't have, for Greco, on the Greco side, we don't have like a Northern Michigan like we had when I was there, where we all have full rides, and there was like 23 of them when we used to have the Congressman Bart Stupak scholarship. Mm-hmm. And then the last party they took that out. That was in office, and which is fine. That's what needed to be done, I guess. But so the scholarship part's out. But I've seen tons of athletes pay for their own school, and still do great things. Andy Bezic, the head coach there right now, he came there as a walk-on. He was 7th at Fargo his senior year, walked on to the Northern Michigan team, and a year later he got a full ride from Yvonne. Yvonne saw his work ethic. And then a number of years later is when he finally placed at nationals, and then he just kept staying the course, and then he's a 2-time world bronze medalist. Yeah, he's actually, so I mean, he bought into himself. He had to pay his own way for some of it, and he had to put trips on his credit card. I don't believe, don't do that to a certain extent, right? Don't keep chasing if it's not there, but you got to buy in yourself. And if you want to go to school and get an education at the same time as competing or training Greco, then you go to Northern Michigan and you got to pay a little bit. I just have an athlete that just graduated last year, Cole Smith. He joined the National Guard, but the National Guard pays for his tuition up at Northern Michigan. They'll pay 100% his tuition, and then he got a little bit of a scholarship, and he's good to go. He's top 10 in the country, and he's going to go to school, become an officer, do ROTC. He won't pay a dime for school. So there's other ways to do it, and then hopefully he'll be in WCAP in the WCAP program.
So WCAP, kind of explain that a little bit. I mean, I know about it, but for the listeners that don't, you have to be in the top. Is it 3 or 4?
It's 3 usually. Yeah, they don't have a development side, right? So it's top 3.
Yep.
They're trying to put people on the Olympic team. Really, they're trying to win medals. The wrestling team has done great over the years. I was part of that program. I've been fortunate enough to be a part of every program. So WCAP, the Olympic Training Center, Northern Michigan, and even my high school, I had an Olympian coach from Puerto Rico, Carmelo Flores. But with WCAP, that was my last program that I was a part of. It's a big family. Sean Lewis is an amazing coach. And it helps the guys stability financially because when we don't get paid a lot to wrestle. The most I made in a year was $40,000. And when I joined WCAP in 2012, because my wife was Deanna Ricks at the time, she was pregnant, and we had a baby on the way. And if I wasn't placing that tournaments, then I wasn't making money, and I always placed, but that's that scary thing, like I think the stipend for the number one guy back then was $1,000 a month, from USA Wrestling. If you're number one in the country, you're the world team member. So it's only $12,000 a year unless you're placing at all the tournaments and traveling internationally and placing there. So I joined WCAP, helped me, financially, but also helped me, not have to worry about that piece and train even harder.
Yeah, I think the WCAP is an awesome opportunity, and it's a great program. What are speaking of money now? So if you on a world team or an Olympic team, if you place gold, silver, bronze, what is the payout now? There is a payout, right?
So the world is they created this this fund called Living the Dream Fund, which was awesome, and so it is it's to help pay Olympic athletes, because there's a lot of time that's put in, and then once you hit that goal, you used to not make a lot of money. And for the Olympics, they used to give you $25,000.
Yep. To
win Olympic gold back in the day. Now it would not including sponsorships and stuff like that, but now it's $250,000 for the Olympics to win a gold. For the world, it's $50,000. So there's a big jump there, but they created this fund, and I don't know exactly how the fund looks like. If it's an endowment or something, everyone just they got a whole bunch of donors, and I know they call yearly to get more people to donate because what if we had a team full of Olympic champions? In all styles, it might bankrupt the fund. So. But no, it's something to look forward to. But one thing I would say is don't chase the money.
Yep.
Don't do it for the money. Do it for you. At one point in my career, and I listened to John Smith do this interview, and I don't know where he was. I think he was at a college, and he was talking about in '88 and. 87 wins the Worlds, 88 wins the Olympics, and in 89 he loses to Cuba, I believe, or he's in Cuba and he loses, and he's wondering what the deal was, why he lost, and he goes back and he had been making all this money and these financial gains, and it made him comfortable, and so he took that and put that money away in a bank and said, I'm only going to put myself on this budget, so that I'm in a impoverished situation to make me train even harder, and then he went on to win 4 more world and Olympic titles, so. So I wouldn't chase the money. I would chase I would chase the dream. I'd chase the glory. I would chase the grind because when you start to get older, like I miss it every day, and I could probably still compete if I wanted to come back, but my body hurts, and I could only train once a day, and that would still make my body hurt. So, but yeah. Yeah, the money thing with the USA Wrestling is great if you can reach those goals. But the number one guy though doesn't make a lot of money, so that part kind of stinks. If you're the number one guy, so you don't have a lot of training money.
Yeah.
You know, if you wanted to travel, unless you have great sponsors, like I was sponsored by Sunkiss, amazing sponsor. New York AC sponsored me in the beginning, was great, you know, and then obviously with WCAP at the end of my career.
Yeah. And that makes you. And I do remember that video you're talking about with John. Um, I mean, you almost have to put yourself in that situation. You got the Cubans and you've got the Bulgarians and these people. They don't have any money, so they're in a different situation than we are. You know, I mean, it's interesting the culture of training and you know what people are really chasing. You see these guys just break down after they've lost, and they haven't just lost a match; they've lost huge opportunity in these countries. You know,
Oh, for sure.
by
Because
losing.
financially, you know, they don't know if they can put food on the table or what are they. I mean, I've met guys that are world medalists that are taxi drivers overseas.
Wow.
You know, so I mean, it's a, you know, but don't chase that part. You know, chase the journey on doing it. And you know, I believe that wrestling is like being a Spartan sometimes. You know,
Hmm.
you got to go out there, and if you lose, you lose, but you got to go out there, give your 100%. And um, you know, there's some fun matches that I've watched, like Lopez, the heavyweight, was a really fun one. And I remember in Jamil Byers in 2009, he pushes him out of bounds, and Jamil pushes him out of bounds in the finals of the World Championships. Lopez is smiling as he walks back to the center. I was like, okay, let me show you what I can do. And then he, you know, he high dived him or something, or he got a double unders, and he ended up pinning Byers. But it was awesome to see that transaction. Like, okay, Byers hits him with this big push out. We're all excited, and then this guy's smiling as he walks back to the center because he's a Spartan, you know. So I believe it's like being a warrior, being a wrestler. So I mean, it's pretty cool if you do it that way. If you chase the dream that way
Well,
and enjoy it.
speaking of that, we watched some of your videos. Rhett and I did on YouTube, and if you're listening, you got to go watch some of Joe Betterman's videos. Um, you're a brawler. I mean, there's no. I mean, you made it into a fight almost. I loved your style, the way you wrestle. So in saying that, what is your philosophy? Well, let me go this route first. What was some of your favorite matches, like that you look back on and it just comes to your mind? What were some of your favorite matches that you had?
I have some really memorable matches, but I would say like one of my big memorable ones. I was wrestling. There's a couple. I got a funny one, and then I got a one there where I was losing. So then I came back. So I was wrestling Kazakhstan. I think it's 2014. Either 2014 or 2013. I was wrestling Kazakhstan, and I'm in the semifinals, and this guy is beating the crap out of me. He's throwing me all. You know, he's a straight technician. You know, pretty much a Russian, right? Kazakhstan. And this guy, he hits me with the nasty arm throw, and then he hits me with the lift, and I'm about to get tech fold. And I'm trying to figure out during the match as it's happening what's going on. And I switch, you know, I'm leading with my right and going heavy with my right because I have like that Iowa style almost. I'm
Hmm.
from Illinois, that Midwest style where I try to break a guy and get him tired. And so I'm like, well, let me switch it up. And I started leading with my left. And then I broke this guy, and he just gassed out, and he ended up getting cautioned out of the match. He couldn't stand up, you know. I'm pushing him all over. I'm on his head. I'm breaking him down, you know, my style is like I look like this. I'm a good technician. I joke with people on the side. I'm one of the better technicians, at least in Greco, in the country. And I'm a student of the game. But when I was wrestling Russians, the way I made my technique like I was like this great technician is because I gas them out. When I wrestled the foreigners, I would just gas them out first, and then that was my game plan. Then I would go to work on my technique, and I look like, man, look, his technique's flawless, or he's getting all these crazy moves and things like that. Is because guys are so tired they couldn't even, you know, they just want to get off the mat. But so that was a real memorable one in Kazakhstan. I ended up winning that tournament that Dave Schultz that year. I think that might have been my third or fourth title. And then I have a memorable one that the guys all talk about. We were in Hungary. And I think it was the Conti semis. I ended up winning the bronze medal in the tournament, but against Armenia, or it might have been in the quarterfinals on the front side. And this Armenian had a nasty reverse lift, and it was the old rules where if you didn't score, you were getting put down
Hmm.
one of the periods. And I had won the first period, And I think we're in the second period and no one's scoring. And I'm like, man, I do not want to go down. This guy's got a nasty reverse lip. It's going to be a battle. And so I look over at Sean, at Coach Lewis. I think this was 2013. I look over at Coach Lewis and I'm like, I'm going out of bounds. And he's like, what? I could see his face. And I'm like, I'm going out of bounds. I'm walking out of bounds. And so I like start backing up to the bounds, but the guy's like not advancing. So I go out of bounds. I get cautioned, but the guy gets one. And so I don't get put down, but then I break him on my feet using that same style that, that brawler mentality. And I end up hitting, I think, an arm throw on him later into that match because I broke him on my feet.
That is so smart, though, man. That's knowing your weaknesses and your strengths, and knowing his strengths. That's brilliant.
Well, it's hard. And that's the one thing I try to teach my kids is being able to adapt during the match, because you might wrestle someone for the first time and you don't know what this guy has, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this style is not going to work in this match. I have to understand that and be able to adapt this, and have been a student of the game and have different techniques and tactics and styles. Adapt during the match so that you could still get the outcome that you want.
Well,
those guys were good wrestlers, and I think they both were world medalists later. And so that was cool. But I beat Olympic champs. I beat Pereira 3 times, the Cuban.
Wow.
So that's cool too. But those ones are more memorable. Those matches.
Who are some of your rivals on the U.S. side? Like, who did you have as you had? Everybody's got the rivals. Once you get to that level, you're going to wrestle.
Well, I guess through my career, would have been like a Lindsey Durlacher was a big rival. In the beginning, it was like Dennis and Polson, but I only wrestled them once apiece. So and that was in 2004, and then they were retired. And then it was Lindsey Durlacher for a little bit, and then I went up to 60 kilos. Joe Warren, and then once I kind of settled in the weight class at 60 kilos, I kind of took over. And there was like Jeremiah Davis, who's a big rival, Glenn Garrison. Those were both WCAP guys when I wasn't WCAP yet. Spencer Mango and I have had 11 matches.
Wow,
it's like 11 or 12 actually. Which was awesome. And then Ryan, his brother beat me once, Ryan Mango. He always talks about it. The guys always give me a hard time. And my kids, when you look it up on YouTube, that's one of the first matches that come up. You look me up. And I actually enjoy that match the most because I learned a valuable lesson, in that match, of getting thrown and, with 17 seconds left, or me not pulling the trigger, when I was winning. But, there's been some great rivals. Ellis Coleman was a great rival. He's a good friend of mine now. He's actually moving in my neighborhood here in October. He just built a house there. So, but, yeah, definitely some good rivalry matches. Ellis was a big one because he beat me in 2012 to make the Olympic team.
Oh, wow.
I was the number 1 guy. So he cut down from 66. I had beat him in 09, I think 08, 09, when he first graduated high school. He went up to college, and those were tough matches. I beat him twice, and then he went up to 66, won 2 world bronze medals at juniors, right? And when he came down to 60 kilos, it was a different Ellis, a lot stronger, used to wrestling 66 kilo guys. And, and there was some psychological stuff that was happening with the coaching. And so, and I didn't get too far into that, but it was, my mind wasn't there. And then, this guy was a lot stronger than I wrestled the first time. So we had 4 matches in a row that year in 2012, that season. And he ended up beating me all 4 matches. And they were close matches, some of them. And, one of them I pinned myself, and I started complaining about a leg foul, and I've watched the video 100 times and there was no leg foul. I was just reaching, but these are things you start to understand when you're older.
Yep. Yeah.
When you look back.
That leads in, when you're talking about your kids, that leads into my next question. What is your philosophy? Like, when you're with these guys, they're living with you. So what's a relationship like? With these kids, you guys are in a house together, you're training together. That's different than say going to a school and them just, they have a coach, but there's 40, 50 kids in the room. How do you, it's really hard to build a relationship sometimes. You got a select few. So what is the environment like, and what does a day look like for you guys?
The environment, it's really interesting. Before we even started Academy, we do the same camp still, but an intensive camp in July where the kids come live with us. And, it's cool to come because my wife is, her credentials are super high. She's 5th in the world twice, and she's an 8-time national champion, same as me. We have the same amount of stop signs. But when we bring people in our house and invite these kids in our house, they get to live with Olympic and world caliber athletes, and get to see, that we're actually regular people, but also get to see our mentalities. And our mentalities are crazy. You should hear the arguments between my wife and I just about wrestling, like who would have won in high school. And that happens at least once a week, and the kids are like, oh, and the way we talk with each other, but we still love each other. We're, because we're wrestlers, we're competitive and things like that. So the environment in our household, it's a crazy, because we have 4 of our own kids. It's pretty crazy because we have 4 of our own children, and my oldest is 7 and my youngest is 1. So the kids get to they help out with the kids. They're like our own kids. So we're it's not buddy all the time. We're parenting these kids. They're not our children. So if Rhett came out to come train with me, I'm pretty much like his dad out here. I'm making sure that he's doing the right thing. He's staying on his schoolwork. I'm still cordial with him, and I'll be the guy that he can talk to if he needs something or something's going on, or if he's talking about girls, I don't really care. I'm here for you. But I'm real world. I'm a real world coach, and trying to get kids ready for the real world. And not everything is peaches and cream out there, and it's not sunshine. You got to grind through it, and you gotta kind of, if you want something, you gotta work hard for it. Yeah. And battle for it, and that's my philosophy for the kids. And with the wrestling philosophy, I guess I would say is, you learn from your losses. We've had kids that are studs, that are multiple time state champs, come here, and that's the biggest thing I try to teach them. Like, hey, you're a big fish in a small pond. I want you to be a shark in the ocean. I want you to be something that's going to take anything out. But it's going to take time. You're going to have to work hard, and you're going to have to accept that you're not the best anymore, that you have to, you got to go through these stages of life. It's like going from junior to university to senior, it doesn't just, you're not just go from high school to seniors and you're the best. Yeah. It takes a little bit of time. So.
Well, yeah, that's good. That's real good. I feel like we've gotten a lot out of this interview, and it was just questions I have, but I know it's questions other parents have too. Because of this COVID, I'll tell you what, it's changed some things. It's definitely disrupted school, how it's always been taught, the model. There's now talk about school choice, and I think parents are now looking at other models. We always have. We've homeschooled, so we've always looked at that, like, where could we send him to get training if that's really what he wants. I mean, his mom, Jessie, she's like, if that's his passion is freestyle and Greco, then why are we not doing that? That's what he wants to do. The only reason he's doing folk style is because, we have just training. I mean, in Oklahoma, we have a hotbed for training right now. We have some we're deep. We're really deep in talent right now. So it's easy to get good training, whereas a lot of states don't have that. And so it makes it, an interesting situation for us. But his passion is freestyle and Greco, specifically Greco. And so I think it is something we're really strongly looking at, and I think we live in interesting times right now. What happens? For sure. I mean, what happens if college football doesn't happen? You're looking at that funds a lot of things. What happens to wrestling? I mean, that's a real question.
But there's no saying, right? And we don't know. I mean, there's all this behind the door stuff happening, and obviously with the election, and there's a lot of craziness going on in the world today, and like I told the kids especially the ones that live with me and the ones that don't live with me, when we first had COVID and we had to shut down a little bit because our state shut down. So we shut down, but I didn't shut down like the kids that live with me. We rolled mats out every single day. Yep. And we're wrestling. And I said, listen, I don't care how long this takes. We're going to be ready when the starting line, when it's time to get to the starting line, when it's time to shake hands and the whistle goes, we're ready. Nobody else is going to be able to train like we're training. And there's a few out there that that are able to do it, but we're going to be ready to hit the mats hard, and it happened. We went to Utah and I seen kids jump like their credentials. We had a kid from Maine. His name's Aiden Riff McKinley, and he's a junior this year, and he was a state champ his freshman year in Maine. He moved out here last year, did a whole year with us, was ready for Fargo this year, doesn't get it. He went to Fargo with Maine last year and went 1-2. And that's when he made the decision to move with us. Well, we went to Utah where there was 100 Fargo All Americans in that bracket, or in the all the
Tournament.
weights for high school
Yeah.
in the tournament, and he took third in Greco and fourth in freestyle. He was all upset with himself, and I was like, dude, you're beating all these Fargo All Americans, and you're upset with yourself. Understand the process because we were still training and because we grinded all year. Look where you're at today. And I said, you may not be first, but little by little, it's going to happen. And I'd rather be first at the Olympic trials or at the senior nationals one day when I'm older, or at the Olympics or the Worlds, than to be first at a youth tournament or a high school, like preseason type tournament, summer tournament.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I have a last question for you here, real quick. It came from Instagram because I put it on and asked if anybody had any questions for an Olympic and world team member, and it's a question. It said, how did you stay motivated throughout your time in wrestling? Like how does an elite athlete keep that or maintain that hunger and stay motivated?
I mean, that's a really good question. And I answered a couple ways. First of all, it's very hard to stay by yourself motivated, and you have to be self motivated. And it's hard. That's why we created the program that I have, is because it's hard to get them self motivated nowadays to do the stuff they do. They go and run on a treadmill, and you're like, you start sweating, you're like, you're done. So you always need a coach. But for me, I almost quit this sport about 3 or 4 times. I'm going to be honest with people. Like there was times where like I trained my hardest, and then I had the saddest day. Like I'd be overseas, and I remember being in Belarus, and I got murked. I think I went 0-5 in these duels that we went to, the Greco team, at the senior level, and I got destroyed. And okay, all right, I get destroyed. I'm like, we go to Sweden now. We're doing some training before the Swedish tournament, and we're with the Swedish team. And there was a guy that I was beating the crap out of a month before in the United States, working him. And he destroyed me in practice. Like, one of those practice, like, what just happened to me? And I'm like, I don't understand. Why am I wasting my time? And I'm talking to Momir, and he's like, you need to trust the process, is what Momir told me. He's like, you need to be at peace. Your mind is so clouded, and you're so angry right now because of these results you just had. Be at peace. Well, then I win the Swedish tournament. I collect myself and I win it. And I almost quit at Northern Michigan the first year. There was a walk-on. His name was Chris Sonneman from Florida, and everyone beat me in the room, but the walk-ons and the high school kids that came didn't. And I always beat the crap out of this kid. Well, he tech folded me, and I'm bleeding. My nose is bleeding. And I had a couple of friends, Joe Usolini out of I don't know if you know who that is. He's out of Troy, New York. He owns Kirby Training Center.
Yep.
And so Joe and I think it was Matt Stangline and a couple of my friends came out, and I'm on the stairs crying, like, I've been getting destroyed by all the guys on scholarship for 6 months. And the only guys I've been able to beat, one of them just tech faulted me, and destroyed me, and I'm bleeding. I think I got 5'd, and my nose is bloody, and I'm all busted up. And, they talk to me, and it's not just – it's an individual sport. But at the same time, it's a family. And that's the one thing I'll say, that Greco is really close. At the senior level, at the junior level, the Greco guys become a family.
Yeah.
Opposed to, if you look at, like, even at the NCAAs or in freestyle, it's very self-driven. And people pull away from the pack. The pack is always with you, even if you're doing well. Because if you're doing well, then I'm doing well. And I may become a great wrestler too. You got to always build up that guy below you that, may not be good. Like Spencer Mango, for example, was my training partner that Yvonne said, hey, Joe, pick anyone at Fargo this year, and I'll give him a full scholarship. You need a training partner. So I picked Spencer. And Yvonne went and sealed the deal, and Spencer came up to Northern Michigan. He was supposed to go D2 and wrestle in Missouri. And he came to Northern Michigan, and, I was beating him a lot then. He was still young. He was a kid. But little by little, we picking him up, we're helping each other out. He made me a better wrestler by me helping him become a better wrestler. And then he became a great wrestler. He's an 8-time world and Olympic team member.
Wow.
So he was in my wedding. Same thing with Andy, with the 07, when Grumo was coming back, Andy called me up. They said, hey, Jim's up here training. I was on break right after Worlds. I went back up. Andy was running with me every day, getting my cardio up, making sure I was doing the right things. And then I ended up beating Jim at Sunkiss. I tech folded him, and then Jim beat me at the Open. But, that's part of wrestling, the ups and downs. But But no, I mean, you need people around you to help you stay motivated. If you want to be a great world and Olympic level athlete, your partner should be motivating you, and you still have to have self motivation, but surround yourself by people that are doing the same thing. And that's why we started what we have here. We surrounded these kids by kids that want to chase the same dream, and it's motivating. If one guy wins a run today and the other guy's down because he always wins them, now he's got to work even harder.
Do you see a big difference if a kid's been training Greco for a longer period of time? Like, say you say, I'm not going to do folk style this year. I'm going to just focus on Greco. You focus on Greco, and then you go to Fargo. Do you see a big jump usually?
You do.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to take away from folk style because it's mat time. Honestly, I wish they would do a freestyle Greco season in high school.
Yeah, I do too.
And even in college, where you have one semester's freestyle, one semester's Greco, however they do it. Fall and winter and spring. But you do see a big difference, and I've had kids, for 4 years, or they just graduated that I have had for 4 years. Where I had one kid, Cole Smith, the one that's going to Northern Michigan, and I talked about his freshman year he wrestled folk style. His sophomore, junior year joins my academy. We got him in 8th grade. But his sophomore, junior year joins my academy, and he doesn't do folk style at all. Only freestyle Greco the whole year. Both of those years. His senior year, he did folk style because he didn't want to leave anything left, on the table. So, but top 10 in the country. This guy he had world team members beat 15-10, and that's the stuff he has to work on, where he's beating these world team members or Fargo champs 15-10, and then freaking got 5 with 7 seconds left. So, but huge jump going from a kid who started wrestling in 8th grade to getting worked by all these top guys, and wasn't varsity really his freshman year, unless they needed someone to fill the spot, and then became this great Greco wrestler.
Yeah.
So,
I think it would be good. I've always been a proponent of seeing NCAA's going more freestyle. And I think the rules kind of are sort of going that way in some ways, but to have a pure freestyle go that direction, I think it would give us an advantage. Now, the people here in Oklahoma and other states, they always throw out the card of tradition, so we'll always be folk style, this, that, and the other. But I make the argument that if you put it on ESPN and people are watching freestyle versus folk style, they don't really care. And you see a dude lace some guy up and put him away in 15 seconds, or you see a guy get bombed for 4 or 5. That's pretty exciting.
Way more exciting than seeing someone stall.
Yeah.
And run, but in our rules, we have it, even in folk style, they have it, but stalling, there's multiple calls before there's a point. But in our rules, if you're running in freestyle or Greco, it's immediately they're going to hit you with a fleeing or a passivity. It's immediate points. There's no warning about it, so I think it's a little more exciting, but it's to each their own. And, there's some people that are primarily folk style, and who knows in the next 10 years, 20 years, what that looks like when you have a lot of freestyle Greco athletes now and kids are starting to grow and push into that, maybe the culture will change.
Yeah. Well, hey, Joe, I'm going to let you go. I really appreciate you coming on. It was a great interview. It really was. A different perspective, because you are more centered toward or geared towards Greco, and it's been a good interview. If people want to find out more about you, do you guys have a website, or are you guys on social media anywhere?
Yep, we got our Facebook page, which is Betterman Elite. We just look that up. It's a red, white, and blue logo. So you guys go check that out on Facebook. We have a couple web pages, but they need to be cleaned up. They're pretty old. So yeah, just look up Betterman Elite. You could always add me on Facebook. Joe Betterman, and if you have questions, or shoot me a message. And my phone number is up on the website, and all that stuff. So it's pretty easy to get a hold of me. And I'm the Colorado USA Wrestling State Chairman too. So just look up Colorado USA Wrestling. You'll find me there as well.
That's cool. Well, hopefully you and Zach here at Oklahoma, we could get some things going together. It'd be good to get Oklahoma guys and Colorado guys together, get some training. Zach loves Greco down here too, so it'd be interesting to see if we could get something going.
No, yeah, I've definitely had some conversations with Zach before. I just would like to, it'd be cool to do a Colorado exchange. I think that'd be fun. Something different. We go there one year, they come to us, and so gotta put some more opportunities for the kids. So, but Josh, I appreciate you having me on. It was awesome. And then, it was a great time, and you guys hopefully have a good Labor Day weekend. And if Rhett wants to come out and train, you just let us know. We're here.
All right, Joe. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Yep.